Now, the particular model we're going to be installing is the Pioneer AVH X5500 VHS. It's a double-DIN unit, DVD compatible, HD compatible, works with smartphones, Bluetooth. It's got all the bells and whistles. But what you're going to want to do with any head unit is just make sure that it is actually capable of being controlled using a remote interface. The remote connection on this particular unit is right here. Alright, now when you open one of Axxess's interfaces, you're going to get a number of things. First of all, you're going to have the brains of the operation here, the little brains box. And that has a 24-pin connector as well as a 16-pin connector, both of which are in two separate harnesses. Now, I believe this is the 16-pin, 16-pin connector, and this is actually going to make all your connections to your head unit. So it's your typical speaker wires, remote leads, 12-volt source, that sort of thing. Now these two are going to be vehicle specific, these gray connections here. In my case, they're connecting to a GM vehicle. This connector here also connects to the brain. And finally, and this is what I really love about these connectors, is they have a harness for the ASWC. So in your vehicle, rather than having to make soldered connections for the ASWC as well, you'll note that this harness actually plugs into the ASWC control box. When you open the ASWC, you get a similar source of items. You get a harness, which you'll note is very similar to our interface harness. Actually, it's the exact same thing, so we don't even have to use this in my case because I'm just going to plug this in. And also note, this is the connector that actually plugs into your head unit to control it. It also comes with a special adapter for certain vehicles, the brain, obviously. And what's cool about this is they actually have a connection here. I might not be able to get it open on video, but anyway, underneath this little door, there's a connection so that you can hook up to it via USB and actually update it with hardware, or with software rather, as they release it. It also has a reset button here and an LED indicator, as well as instructions for installation and an application chart. So in this application chart, they have all this information online, but it's kind of a quick pocket guide for every single vehicle that this is compatible with. Okay, let's begin with installing our integration kit. So what we're going to do is start with the 16-pin harness, and you're going to want your head unit harness. So on this third page here, what it does is it just talks about all the different connections you need to make. And if you've installed radios before, it's very consistent with the coloring. Red is your ignition wire, orange-white is illumination, white, gray, green, purple are all your speakers, your blue-white's going to be your amp turn-on, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start soldering these together. Okay, in order to install a head unit properly, you're going to need a number of items. First of all, definitely install with a soldering iron. And because of that, you're going to need solder. Obviously, you're going to need your two harnesses that you're connecting. You're going to need some electrical tape just in case, scissors, wire stripper, and a heat gun. Let's get to work. Okay, let's begin the soldering process. The first step here is we take a piece of heat shrink and we're going to go ahead and cut it to size and slide it over the wire. After we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and twist the wires together. And following that, we're going to start our soldering process. So go ahead and tin the tip of the soldering iron with some solder, and then touch it to the wire and get it nice and hot, and then allow solder to flow in. Finally, we're going to slide the heat shrink back up over the joint, and then we're going to go ahead and heat it with a heat gun to allow it to shrink. Okay, so we've made all the pertinent connections on the first harness, the 16-pin harness. So now what we're going to do is move along to the 24-pin harness. Now on this harness, we're actually going to be connecting, in this case, the yellow power and black ground. Okay, so now what I've done is gone ahead and connected the 12-volt constant as well as the ground. And what I like about Axxess is they were smart enough to put an extra wire in the 12-pin in order to connect to the ASWC connection for the 12-volt ignition source. Okay, so once you have all your needed wires connected, what you're going to do is bundle your connections. Now I've already done this so that I can kind of explain it. What I want to do, you'll note that this is the radio connector right here. So what I made sure I did is gave myself a long length of wire, as this is going to have to be in tight behind the radio. So I bunched things together with electrical tape. Now note, the electrical tape is never used to actually seal an electrical connection. I always use heat shrink for that, but I just use the electrical tape to bunch the connections together. So see how I have a nice clean run here? Now in the integration kit, it tells you how to actually attach this to the ASWC, and in this case it's a Grand Prix Pontiac, and it has a little indication down here that I need to cut the white-green, the pink, and the orange-green wires before programming the ASWC. So I'm going to make those cuts on these wires. Alright, so what I've done is made all the connections within the vehicle, and I want to show you guys how easy this is to program. So when you first turn it on, you're going to see it's flashing quickly like that, and all you have to do is go ahead and hold the volume up key on your steering wheel. Then what it's going to do is eventually the light will stop blinking. It's going to go through a series of 7 different flashes. Some are long, some are short, and that's how it's actually detecting what head unit you're using. From there, it's going to blink up to 11 times. You can count the number of blinks to know what actual head unit it thinks it's seeing, and then from there it'll be solid and you're ready to go. Alright, so we now have everything plugged back in. I'm just going to go ahead and show you that everything works with ASWC. You can see if I press volume up, it works. Volume down as well. You can go ahead and mute. You can also switch your sources using the play key, which is very handy. Let's go to radio. And then, of course, if you press your skip up and down, it does the same thing that your factory unit would have done. You can go up and down through radio stations, tracks on CD players. Band is going to change the actual band, the AM, FM of the radio. And then you can also go 1 through 6 through your presets, etc., etc. So as far as ASWC, everything works great. Alright guys, so there you have it, the ASWC Axxess steering wheel control interface. Now just so you guys know, you don't have to buy another Axxess integration kit like I did getting the GMS04 that actually integrated with the ASWC. You don't necessarily have to do that, but because I wanted to retain my OnStar and my door chimes and everything in my vehicle, I did in fact decide to get that as well. And in the end, it actually made pairing to the ASWC a lot more simple. Overall, the ASWC, I find it a great product. It's very easy for me to program. If you can't get it to auto program right away with your car, you can actually manually program it. It's just by going through a sequence of different LED flashes and timing and things like that. And you then cycle the key to program it, all that kind of thing. So either way, I found it to be a good product. I definitely recommend it if you want to retain your steering wheel controls, which I think is very important in a lot of vehicles nowadays since they have it. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review, a quick little how-to install. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so. Please hit that thumbs up button down in the corner down there. And stay tuned in, guys, because I'm coming at you with a bunch more great content.